state has any comment or any information, anything today on the, the anti-Israel protests across, the nation now, really going from California all the way to New York. But a lot of these student protesters are accusing the Biden administration of being complicit in genocide. Wondering if you guys, if diplomatically,
Sure.
foreign policy-wise, you guys have...
Yeah, so I've spent a number of the last few daily press briefings talking about this, and I'm happy to reiterate what I said before. First, I will echo what the secretary said in talking to one of your colleagues on the margins of his trip to Beijing. Demonstrations, I should say, expressing your opinion about any kind of government action, expressing your opinion about foreign policy, exercising your First Amendment right. None of those things are problematic or anti-Semitic or Islamophobic in their own right. It is when those things are coupled with the use of certain language and rhetoric and insults that we have seen and have been part of some of these demonstrations. Beyond that, those kinds of things, of course, we would condemn and take issue with. But we believe that every American has every right to express their points of view, to exercise their First Amendment right when it comes to policies that are that as it relate to any particular campus. Those campus officials are better suited to speak to those policies that they have in place, both in terms of dealing with expressions of First Amendment rights or otherwise. I'm not in a space to speak to that. But of course, everyone has every right to make their point of view heard. And from our perspective across this administration, we've made clear that we insist that these happen in a peaceful, nonviolent manner. And any kinds of these demonstrations, when they are paired with or coupled with rhetoric, language that is anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, essentially insults or targets someone for just who they are, that's deeply problematic.
Quick follow-up. One thing that's kind of new,
Yeah.
as far as I'm aware, is you're seeing regimes now like the Iranian regime. China has started to weigh in, the governments, and criticize the Biden administration's response to these protests. We saw overnight the Chinese saying that the way, the U.S. government is responding is violating these students' rights. Do you have a comment on these adversaries using it as an opportunity to criticize?
The policies and procedures as it relates to demonstrations, protesting, things like that may or may not exist on a particular college campus or may not exist in a particular town, city, or municipality. It is certainly not in the remit of the State Department, so I am not going to even delve into that. There's other agencies that are better suited to speak to that. But what I can say broadly, we of course support anybody to be able to express themselves and to exercise their First Amendment rights. They should not and cannot become violent, not peaceful. And in those particular circumstances, we believe it is the right of the appropriate law enforcement and enforcement and security officials to take appropriate actions consistent with the policies of that jurisdiction. Again, we are delving far away from foreign policy and into law enforcement, which is not the remit of
No, because what I'm asking really is it not from a foreign policy, foreign relations, diplomacy perspective, isn't it, hypocritical of the Chinese and the Iranians, some of the worst human rights violators in the world, to be criticizing the Biden administration's policy response to America?
I don't think anybody in this administration is interested in taking a human rights lesson from the Iranian regime or the People's Republic of China, for that matter. And both of those regimes crackdowns on self-expression, on free and fair press, on basic human rights is clear. Sorry.
Just a quick follow-up.
Hold on.
The image that it's giving of the United States with protesters being arrested, not necessarily the one you would want to have.
Leon, there are laws in this country. Again, we are delving away from the topics that are discussed in this department, but if laws are being broken on certain college campuses, in certain municipalities, in certain towns, in certain cities, in certain counties, it is well within the right for the officials of those jurisdictions to enforce whatever laws that are so appropriate as it relates to that region. Beyond that, we fully support anybody's ability to exercise their First Amendment right and make their opinions as it relates to any action or policy the government may or may not be taking and making their points of view heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just
Psych.
have a couple follow-ups, and then I have a couple of questions of my own.
Now, in response to Jill, you said there are certain things that are being said in these protests that you have issue with. Could you share some of those with us?
I'm not going to repeat them from up
But
here.
you
Said,
made an
but-
assertion that you are obviously in command of. What are these statements? I wanna know.
There have been a number of these demonstrations in which the imagery, in which the language that has been written on some of the poster material has either been akin to what I would believe to be anti-Semitism, but we've also seen expressions, rhetoric, signage that is akin to Islamophobia and the targeting of Arab American and Palestinian Americans as well. Of course, any kind of language or rhetoric in that space is concerning, troubling, and unacceptable. But again, we fully support people's ability to peacefully make their express their First Amendment rights.